The main character is a young girl with snowy white hair and piercing blue eyes. She is the product of an unlikely union between a destitute ice wizard and a hybrid wolf girl. One day, while exploring, she stumbles upon a precious medicinal plant. Overjoyed, she exclaims how lucky she feels today, as her family relies on selling these herbs to survive in their poverty-stricken life. Placing the grass carefully in her basket, she decides to give it to her pregnant mother, knowing it will benefit her. Suddenly, the half-wolf girl hears laughter nearby and fear grips her heart. A trio of wolves spot her and cruelly mock her, pointing fingers and making fun of her. Trembling with fear, the girl's tormentors continue to taunt her. The pure-blooded wolves insult and belittle the protagonist, making her feel small and vulnerable. To make matters worse, one of the boys throws a hard object at her head, causing her to bleed. However, instead of showing concern, the attacker callously steps on the medicinal herbs she had collected. Determined not to let them get away with their cruelty, the girl defends herself and fights back. As she raises her hand to strike, she is astonished to see that the grass she was holding has transformed into ice. Enraged by his injury, the wolf demands to know how a blood of mud dares to raise a hand against him. But the brave little creature warns him not to come any closer, as one more step would turn the ground beneath him into an icy trap. Ignoring her plea, the boy laughs and mocks her, questioning the usefulness of her stupid ice magic in a land already filled with ice. He even suggests that her mixed heritage is the reason for her supposed foolishness. The wolf slowly approaches the young girl, forcefully slamming her against a sturdy tree. In that split second of impact, an unfamiliar image flashes through her mind. It's as if a glimpse of a past life, a human soul, has suddenly awakened within her. And in that moment, she remembers a beloved novel she used to read, where the protagonist of Little Red Riding Hood was actually the leader of the half-blood dragons. During the war with the wolves, she encounters a half-blood wolf. Little Red Riding Hood finds herself captivated by this beggar boy, and they share intimate moments while lying in bed with a book. The girl can't help but express her admiration to the author, exclaiming how beautifully the attractive boy with the ears is portrayed throughout the course of the novel. However, despite her dream coming true, she doesn't feel the happiness she expected. It's almost unbelievable for her to realize that she has been reborn into the very world she adored in her past life. Suddenly, she springs up, pushing her attacker to the ground, and swiftly escapes. The little creature chasing after her yells for her to stop, threatening to catch her. The mestiza, as she waits for her daughter Eva, she tells her unborn son Sion that they won't have a warm meal until his older sister arrives. Eva, recalling the events of the novel, comes to the realization that the protagonist is her unborn brother in the world of Little Red Riding Hood, where humans coexist with half-breeds like the half-wolves and half-dragons. These different species harbor deep animosity towards each other, a feud that ignited when the wolf stole the heart of the dragon's leader. After losing the love of his life, the protagonist's heart shattered into a million pieces. The weight of his emotions became too much for him to bear, and his mind succumbed to the overwhelming power within. It is said that Little Red Riding Hood's brother faced a similar fate, his heart consumed by anger and grief. In the end, death awaited him as he unleashed his unchecked power, blaming the wolves and embarking on a vengeful quest in the north. However, in this twisted tale, it was the sister of Little Red Riding Hood who was sacrificed like a helpless animal, her life taken by the protagonist's own hands. The protagonist now sees the author as a madman, for his troubled past and bleak future seem to intertwine. The girl yearns for an escape, refusing to succumb to eternal slumber. As strange noises echo through the streets, the protagonist's mother ventures out to investigate. When questioned about the commotion, Eva claims that the wolves have invaded their home, threatening their lives unless they flee. Eva makes the difficult decision to keep the two protagonists apart, ensuring their safety by concealing her own rebirth. Embracing her daughter, the mother reassures her that venturing into the forest will bring them greater security, promising to protect her at all costs. However, someone seems to mock the protagonist's plans, as her mother's condition worsens after the birth of Sion. With no wolf nearby to aid in the birthing of the hybrid child, gripping her daughter's hand, she imparts the wisdom that good things happen to good children, urging her to show kindness instead of resorting to violence. Tears welling in her eyes, Eva gazes at her mother, a white-haired lady, and realizes that she has slipped into eternal slumber. Overwhelmed by grief, the protagonist understands that this is her new reality. After many years of living in the depths of the forest, Eva stumbles upon a girl lying in the snow and wonders what a girl is doing in a place like this. The protagonist realizes that the girl has a fever and hopes that someone will find her and help her, but remembering her mother's words that good things happen to good children, she decides to help. Either because she feels sorry for the girl abandoned to her fate or because her mother's words have influenced her, Eva picks her up and takes her home without fear. Realizing the consequences of her actions, the protagonist meets her little brother. The older sister asks him if everything went well and if strangers have come. He answers that everything went well. The older sister caresses the boy's head, saying how good he is, and asks if the girl she found in the snow is awake. But Sion answers sadly that she has been sleeping for a long time and believes that the girl has not rested yet, even though 3 days have already passed. Eva sends her brother to get cold water and a towel, saying that it is probably because of the heat. But not even the best herbs help the sick girl, and taking her to the hospital will be difficult given her circumstances. The protagonist lies on the bed next to the girl and reflects on the rightness of her actions, but also on the danger of leaving the girl there. Eva puts her hand on the sick girl's and apologizes for not being able to help her more by contacting her savior. The girl comes to her senses. Eva asks her how she is, but when she opens his eyes, the protagonist realizes that they are red like rubies. And in this world, only one race has red eyes. At that moment, the little brother returns with water, and Eva hides it behind her back. If the girl remembers correctly, after her death, the one who took away Zion was the protagonist of Little Red Riding Hood. In the novel, Little Red Riding Hood approached a boy and asked him who he thought he was. In response, he cried and claimed that the girl was his benefactor. These are the same words that Eva now hears from the girl. However, Eva wonders if calling her benefactor is an exaggeration and questions if this girl is truly Little Red Riding Hood, especially since she arrived in the north so early. In the original story, their first meeting occurred when they were already adults. This lady wonders if the course of events has changed. Meanwhile, Eva's brother peeks out from behind, but she quickly tells him to hide his face and pushes him back. He doesn't understand why he can't see the girl and asks if he can talk to her later. Eva turns away, realizing that if they meet now, it will follow the same ending as the original story. She tells Sion to wait outside, fearing that she might get scared. The girl sitting on the bed apologizes to her landlady for this and thanks her. Eva brushes it off, saying it was nothing and what needed to be done. Eva believes that if they don't see each other, her plan will continue. Their survival plan in this bizarre story is to buy a castle, but not one from fairy tales. They want it for their safety. Eva dreams of living in the human world. But the poor commoners without names won't be able to enter. However, in any world, nothing is impossible if you have money. So their ambitious goal is to buy a castle with Sion and move to the human world. That's why the young woman memorized her father's book of medicinal herbs and saved money by selling valuable herbs.